Hello and welcome to this session of the McGill Executive Institute's Level Up webinar series. My name is Eric Sain, Director of the Institute, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. This session is going to last 1 hour and include time to answer your questions. Although you'll be on mute, we invite you to submit your questions by clicking on the chat button at the bottom of your screen. Also, we find that for better video image, we'd ask you to stop your video by clicking Stop Video to the lower left. The session is being recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. So we're proud to welcome today's webinar leader, Jane Reichman Vantosh, for today. Jane is a faculty member of the McGill Executive Institute and a specialist in emotional intelligence and coaching. Pam Sorrenti, our Director of Open Programs, will be your moderator for today's session. She's a learning advisor and a specialist in creating impactful seminars. So again, thank you for joining today's session. We really appreciate it. And with that, let's get started. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you very much, Eric. It's really a great pleasure for me to be here with you and with everyone today. And I really appreciate being invited to participate in your Level Up webinar series. And I also want to especially thank Pam Sorrenti for all your help in putting this together and for acting as our moderator today. So as you said, Eric, let's get started. So there's no question that we're in a very difficult time right now. We're dealing with things that are unprecedented in our lifetime. And it's not surprising that we're all experiencing quite a bit of stress. So I was just kind of curious to see what I would discover if I Googled the term coronavirus and stress. So I did that, and what came up were 728 million results. So clearly we're not alone in worrying about and looking at this topic. It's a very relevant topic these days. So this hour is for you. What we're going to be doing in our time together today is we're going to be looking at emotional intelligence and stress and how emotional intelligence strategies can help you throughout this time. And we're also going to be working with 2 tools. So my wish and my hope is that you find these tools to be effective and that you can walk out the door with them and start working with them in your day-to-day immediately. So let's just start with a little check-in. What's on your mind? What is causing you stress these days? So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, where is your stress level? And so could you please use the chat to let us know?
Oh, we got
What's going
7, 4s, 5s, 8.5. I like that. 9, 3, 5. So we're really all over the map in terms of how we're feeling.
Yeah, and are there any specifics around what people are getting stressed about?
Changes, managing kids at home, anxiety, and not getting enough exercise.
Yeah.
Fatigue, work-life balance, job security, kids, finances, no fishing.
No fishing. A lot of kids, job security, everybody's working remotely from home. So not surprising that we're dealing with a lot of stress. Plus, we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty. So, stress in itself is not a bad thing. Stress is actually a good thing in smaller doses. Stress helps to motivate us. It gives us energy. It helps us to focus. It helps us to get things done. But where the problem arises is when we're dealing with too much stress and too much stress on an ongoing basis. What happens in that situation is that we're really not at our best. We feel overwhelmed. It becomes much more difficult to think clearly and, to really see our situation objectively. And we deal with a lot of symptoms of stress. So some of these may be familiar to you right now. Reduced concentration, that's normal. Our brains are being taken up with managing our stress, efficiency, productivity, body pain. I was doing yoga with a friend of mine the other day, and I was really surprised to discover how sore I was. I didn't even realize that I had that much body pain, and that can happen too because we kind of disconnect with what's going on because we're so focused on making sure that we're doing what we need to do. And insomnia, lots of insomnia, and there are some sort of typical nightmares happening as well. Interpersonal problems. When we're stressed, you know, we may be triggered more easily. We may have more communication issues and conflict. So not surprising. So what's really important is to be able to manage your stress effectively so you don't get to this point, so that you can handle yourself really the way that you want to be throughout your day and with your family and in your work situations. So there's a lot of uncertainty in our lives, as I mentioned, and for our brains, uncertainty is equal to danger. They've shown studies that people where there's uncertainty, there's ambiguity, people would often prefer to get bad news than to have no news at all, because that ambiguity, that uncertainty is really unsettling. It makes us feel like we're in a danger situation. Danger results in fear. When we're in fear, we react. It's much more difficult to be proactive when we're experiencing those types of emotions. So what we're going to be looking at today is what are some positive things that we can do to help ourselves. You know, there's being a lot written on things like just be very choiceful about the things that you're reading. Make sure that you're exercising, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're eating properly and sleeping. But we're going to be looking at a couple of other things that you can do to help yourself during this session. So we're going to start off by doing a body scan together. Psychologists estimate that up to 48% of the time, we're not in the present moment. We're either thinking about something that happened before, kind of thinking about that and maybe worrying about it or analyzing it, or we're thinking about what's coming up in the future. So we might be planning, and in the days that we're right now, we might be doing a lot of worrying because there is a lot of uncertainty. So what's going to happen? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a body scan together and sort of bring ourselves into the present moment. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to get comfortable, sit up in your chair and wherever you are, and it would be good if you could kind of put your back against a chair and sit with your feet on the floor, your hands on your thighs, and here we go. I'd like you to just follow my voice and follow my instructions, and we're going to do a 5-minute body scan. So start off by just gently closing your eyes. And take a deep breath into your nose and exhale through your mouth. One more time. And exhale through your mouth. So I'd like you to bring your attention, your focus to your feet. And I'd like you to press your feet gently against the floor and then just relax. And we're going to slowly be moving up our bodies. And so just follow my instructions, just follow my voice. So I'd like you to move your attention to your ankles now. And then slowly move to your shins. Now to your calves. Are you feeling any tension or any discomfort there? Move to your knees and bring your focus there. And move to your legs and feel your legs firmly against your chair, pushing down. And now move to your buttocks and slowly move to your lower back. And now to your middle back. And just be conscious of any discomfort or any tension that you might be feeling. Take a deep breath into your nose and exhale. One more time. And exhale. Now bring your attention back to your middle back and slowly move up to your upper back, between your shoulders, now to your shoulders. And gently lift your shoulders up to your ears and pull them down. Do it one more time and pull them down. Take a deep breath into your nose and exhale. One more time. And exhale. Bring your attention back to the back of your neck and move slowly up to the back of your head, to the top of your head, and now to your forehead. And as you get to your forehead, just let it relax. Just release the tension that's there. Move gently into your eyes and relax them. Now to your nose. Move down to your mouth and to your jaw. And just let your jaw go slack. Bring your attention back to your head and let your head drop slowly forward. And we're going to do a head roll and we're going to be moving right. So slowly, gently move your head to the right. Your ear is over your right shoulder. Move back. And now move to the other side. And go to the front. And now we're going to go the other way. Move to your left. Your left ear is over your left shoulder. Move your head back. Your right ear is over your right shoulder. And then just gently let your head drop forward and slowly raise it. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale. One more time. And exhale. Bring your attention back to your shoulders. Move slowly down to your upper arms, to your elbows, to your forearms, to your wrists, and now to your hands. And gently press your hands down against your thighs and release. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale. One more time. And exhale. And when you're ready, just gently open your eyes. So how is everyone? Let's just take a little pulse check. How are you feeling now? Has anything shifted for you? Please use the chat to let us know.
Feels good, relaxed, less stressed. Feel calmer. My upper back is sore. Hey, we really are able to hone in on the points of tension when we do a body scan.
Absolutely.
So everyone's feeling a lot more relaxed. Yeah,
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. I am too. So thank you. And that took about 5 minutes. And that was about it. So it's a pretty easy, simple thing that you can do for yourself once a day, as many times as you like, just to help yourself relax a little bit. So one of the important points I want to make is the fact that we have a lot of things that are out of our control right now, but there are certain things that are very much within our control, and that's how we handle ourselves. That's what do we choose to do? How do we choose to approach this? You know, Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist, and he was interned in Auschwitz during the Second World War, and he wrote a beautiful book called Man's Search for Meaning. And what he said is that no matter what happens to you, no matter what you're having to deal with, the last of the human freedoms to choose one attitude in any given set of circumstances. You have that power. You have the power to choose how you want to deal with things. So we have choices, and by no means am I comparing what I'm experiencing right now to what Viktor Frankl experienced, but that makes his message even stronger as far as I'm concerned. So we have choices about what we're reading, what we're looking at, what we're paying attention to. We have choices in terms of how we want to handle ourselves in this situation and how we want to be with others. So in terms of looking at the things that we can control, there are 3 points, sort of clear, simple points that I want to cover with you today. And the first one is building self-awareness. By being more aware of what's happening to us and the way we're reacting, that gives us more power and more choice. Managing our stories, and then finally bringing kindness and compassion to ourselves. I think that's so important these days. So the power of naming your feelings, when you're talking about an emotionally intelligent person, that's somebody who is highly conscious of his or her own emotional states and moods, both pleasant and unpleasant, and able to identify and manage them. So in order to be able to better manage our reactions, we have to be able to better manage ourselves, better manage our emotions, better manage the way that we're viewing things, the way that we're seeing things. However, what happens very often is people don't want to deal with their difficult emotions. A lot of people think, well, that's too difficult. The only way I'm going to deal with it, I'm just going to push it away, and then it's not going to bother me anymore. Studies have shown very clearly that that's really not the most constructive way of dealing with difficult emotions. It's really important to be able to take them out and to look at them and to deal with them, because otherwise what happens is that they can pop up at a very inopportune time, and they probably pop up much more strongly than you were originally feeling them. So really important to look at what you're feeling and name your emotions. And then, you know, we talk about emotions as being pleasant and unpleasant. All emotions are valuable. Sadness is a valuable emotion. Anger is a valuable emotion, just as joy and happiness are as well. But when you are dealing with those difficult emotions, what's really important is that you listen to yourself and to others, and bring empathy and not judgment to what you're feeling, because what you're feeling is valid and it's something for you to look at. So this is Daniel Goleman's sort of basic model in terms of emotional intelligence. On one side, we see personal competencies, how we manage ourselves. And on the other side, we see social competencies, how we manage our relationships. The starting point is really self-awareness. If we understand what we're feeling, if we can connect to that, if we know what our mood is, then we have a greater possibility of managing ourselves. So that's where the self-management comes in. And part of self-management is also being able to motivate ourselves in difficult times, and also bringing a more of an optimistic approach to things. So I'm not suggesting that we see the world through rose-colored glasses, but our assumptions are also self-fulfilling prophecies. If we see things glass half empty, then we have this bias to collect information to validate our perspective. So we're going to see things that validate the glass half empty view of the world. If we do glass half full, then the same thing's going to happen. We're going to see all the positive things that are happening in our lives. So personal competencies, the starting point is self-awareness, then self-management. Once we can do that, then we have a greater opportunity to build relationships, effective relationships with other people. If we understand what we're feeling, we're going to have greater empathy for others, and we're going to be able to better understand them and to also help them with any challenges that they're having. And that's where the building effective relationships can come in. So as I said, the starting point is self-awareness. And this is a tool that I really like, and I work with it a lot with my coaching clients. And it's called the Mood Meter. And it was developed by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. So it's an app that you can get. It costs about $2 Canadian, not more than that. And it's really interesting to work with it. So it's, as you can see, it's divided into 4 quadrants: high energy unpleasant, high energy pleasant, low energy unpleasant, and low energy pleasant. And so what you do with that Mood Meter app is that you go on a few times during the day, or you especially go on when you're dealing with a difficult situation, if you're feeling triggered, and you look at what is the emotion that I'm feeling. Because really, if you can't name it, you can't manage it. The more granular, the more specific you can be about the emotion that you're feeling, the more able you'll be able to manage it effectively. What happens is that we have these core emotions like anger, sadness, joy, and we bundle other emotions into these core emotions. So something like anger, a lot of other emotions get bundled into anger. So irritation can get bundled into anger, impatience can get bundled into anger. So what happens is that when you're feeling irritated, you react in anger. Or if you're feeling impatient, you react in anger. And that's not the appropriate emotion in the situation. So you're trying to manage the wrong thing. So the Mood Meter app lets you focus in on what is the emotion that you're feeling. And then it also asks you, why are you feeling this emotion? So it gives you an opportunity to look at why you're feeling the emotion. And then it also says, do you want to stay with this emotion, or do you want to change it? So clearly, if you're feeling high energy pleasant or low energy pleasant, you're going to want to stay with it. If it's unpleasant, then you're going to want to switch to something else. And so it helps you move to that other emotion. And it's often, when I work with my coaching clients, they're often very surprised to see the detail of emotion that we actually do experience. So you should have this graph in, anyways, it's been sent out to you. So you'll have this picture of all the different emotions. So you'll be able to start working with and identifying the specific emotions that you're feeling so that you'll be able to manage the right emotion. So are you stressed? Are you frustrated? Are you angry? You have to deal with the actual emotion that you're feeling in order to be able to manage it properly and effectively. So one of the things that I talked about earlier is the fact that we have a lot of trouble dealing with uncertainty. And so then what happens is that when we're dealing with uncertainty, we make up stories for ourselves. And we believe the stories that we make up, and we act on the stories that we make up. And sometimes these stories are helpful, but sometimes they're not. And so it's really important for you to be able to step back and to ask yourself, what stories am I telling myself about what's happening to me right now, what other people are doing, and to take a look at whether you're helping yourself or hurting yourself at this time. So we're going to be working with another tool called the awareness wheel. And the awareness wheel is a really interesting tool. And I'm going to actually call on Pam at this point because Pam very graciously agreed to act as our case study for going through this tool. So Pam, if I can reach out to you now.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
So can we take a look at the story, the issue, the situation that you're dealing with? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the awareness wheel and we're going to kind of take a look at it step by step.
Sure. So I'll give everyone some context. I was having a conversation with Jane the other day. She helped me through this, so that was really appreciated. Thank you, Jane.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I mean, my husband and I are both really lucky. We're home. We both are able to still continue working, which is a really great thing right now. But it also comes with challenges, as I'm sure we all know. I have two small children, 5 and 6, two little girls. And I'm trying to make sure that, I'm doing a good job at work and really applying myself, and I'm trying to take care of my family. But I feel like I'm just running all the time and I'm not doing a good enough job anywhere. So the story that kind of came up when Jane and I were speaking was that the other day, my 6-year-old reminded me about a Zoom class call that she was supposed to have. She was really excited to see her teacher and all her friends, and I had completely just dropped the ball. And she was very disappointed and very sad, and I felt horrible about myself.
Okay. So then what we did was we took a look at this situation through the awareness wheel, and we went through the wheel together. Before I take you through it, Pam, I just want to explain it briefly to people. Yeah. So, you start off with an issue, and an issue is usually, like I said, it can be a situation that you're dealing with by yourself, or it can be a situation that you're dealing with in a relationship. And it's very often when you're reacting to something and you want to get clarity around that situation, and in order to be able to think clearly and decide what you want to do and what action you want to take. So you start off with the issue, and then you move to the first part of the wheel, which is sense or sensing, and you look at the facts. What is actually going on? What are the concrete facts of the situation? So once you've established those, then you move to the next part of the wheel, which is the interpretation part or the thinking part. What am I thinking about this? And here you're going to be asking yourself, what stories am I telling myself about this situation, right? Then you move to emotions, and again, you get granular. What specifically am I feeling? And identify those emotions, because they really have, a big impact on us. They affect us very deeply. And then for me, this is really almost the most important question. And sometimes, to be honest with you, I skip everything else and I just go to, what do I want? Because often we don't ask ourselves, what do we want? We're trying to figure out things and what's the right thing to do. But what do I want? How do I want to resolve this situation? What's really important to me? And then we have our action plan in terms of of what we're going to do, how we're going to move forward with this. So if we can take people through the wheel step by step, Pam.
Sure.
So issue is you're overwhelmed and your 6-year-old was disappointed because you didn't attend a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So what are the concrete facts of the situation? What's actually going on?
So I mean, the concrete fact was that I missed my daughter's class call. I dropped the ball.
And it's really important to make sure that you're just focusing on the concrete facts, not how you're interpreting them here, because we're going to get back to that later. So those are the facts. Mm-hmm. So now, what do you think about this situation? How are you interpreting the situation? What stories are you telling yourself?
Right. So this is the spiraling out of control portion of the segment. Yeah, I felt really terrible about myself as a parent. I felt like, oh my God, I'm failing at this. I'm failing as I'm failing my coworkers. I'm failing my husband. I'm failing my children. I felt like I was not a great role model. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, no, it is intense. And so that's what what happens very often is we kind of put things together. So you're also bringing in issues from work. You could be bringing in issues from other parts of your life, and it can be very confusing, right? So these are the stories that you're telling yourself and how you're interpreting the situation. So in terms of emotions, what emotion or emotions were you feeling?
Lots of guilt lately. Definitely a huge amount of guilt. And I was really sad because my daughter was very disappointed and she was really sad. So it made me sad.
Yeah. So sadness. So here, this is the key question. What really matters? What do you want? What's the outcome that you want? And what don't you want?
Yeah, so for me, I found it was easier to identify what I don't want before I can identify what I do want.
Okay.
And so what I didn't want is to continue kind of feeling that way and being so hard on myself.
Right. Right.
And so I kind of figured out what I do want is just to have a more balanced perspective and feel more in control of things and, just be more positive about everything that's happening and going on.
Yeah. So that's what really matters. Mm-hmm. So then what did you do?
What I decided to do, actually, I'm a big fan of lists. And so what I ended up doing was every night before bed, I write, I take out my iPhone and I write in the notes section and I just write down all the things that I've done, so if we did a little bike ride or a walk, with my family, if I cooked a meal, if I got a project done through work. And so I was then able, or I'm now able to focus on the things that I have done versus the things that I haven't done. And one thing that Jane said to me that really stuck with me was you really need to stop shoulding on yourself. And I really like that. It's, it resonated with me, and I do it a lot. Oh, I should have done this better. I should have done that, rather than, wow, look at what I've accomplished. So for me, that's been working, and I'm not going to say that I am, amazing every day. But at least, I'm trying to, use this concrete tool to be more positive in my thoughts.
Great. Thank you. So how did things shift for you?
Yeah, so I'm feeling just more positive in general. Yeah, okay. It's helping me focus on, okay, look, I really did get a lot done today. There's a lot going on and I really did get a lot done.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Pam. So Pam made a really important point. One of the things to remember is that our emotions are contagious. And we actually catch emotion from each other. So especially these days when we're in close quarters, very, very important to be aware of what you're feeling and how it might be impacting other people, because especially when you're a parent, I have to say, when you're in a position of authority, your children are looking to you and they're going to be feeling what you're feeling, but not really understanding why necessarily. So it's important for us to be doing this for ourselves. So now we're going to give you an opportunity to try it. So if you think of an issue that you're dealing with, it can be an issue that you're dealing with on your own, something that you'd like to resolve. It can be an issue that you're having with somebody else. It can be a communication situation. And really what we're looking for is something where something happened and you're reacting to that thing, and you'd like to sort of look at it differently or have a clearer perspective on it. And again, you know, these are new muscles for everybody. Like, I know even just trying to identify your emotions, that's a new muscle, and it takes time to be able to identify your emotions granularly. So, and the same thing with the awareness wheel. I have clients who have been working with the awareness wheel, and now they love it. They find it really helpful. I even have one client who has it as her screensaver, and she said, I just kind of go through it very quickly many times during the day. So now it's your opportunity to go to work with it. So you're going to have 15 minutes. You're going to go into breakout rooms in a moment. And so use an issue that you've identified, something that's important to you, that you're comfortable sharing with other people. So sharers, if you're comfortable, share your issue and take yourself through each step of the awareness wheel with your group. And listeners, help the sharers by sharing your insights on what you see, help them identify the facts and so on. In a way, you're going to be coaching them, and then see how much time you have for people. And if you can switch roles, please do that.
Great. So I'll just explain a bit of the process here. So we will assign you into a breakout room. A pop-up will appear. You'll just click on the pop-up. And as you'll get like a 60-second reminder for the end of the breakout room, and then you'll just be pushed right back into the session. So when you do come back, sometimes there's a bit of a lag. So when you do come back, just as you're coming back, turn your videos and mute yourself again. If you're comfortable turning your video on, please do so. But if you're not, no worries at all. And definitely try and identify, once you get in there, who is more comfortable sharing and who in the group is more comfortable listening and coaching, because both of those roles are very important, and we fall into one of them more naturally than the other. And so that's it. And I also shared with you, and Toko just shared it again, the awareness wheel, as well as, so you have all the questions and steps in there that you can go through. And that's it. With that, I will start the breakout rooms. Enjoy. So as you come back, everyone, if you can just close your videos again, that would be really great. Helps for the smoothness of the Zoom call. Oh, I'm already getting feedback, Jane. That was amazing. That was great, but we had too much to share. I know, Heather. There is so much to share. Okay, I think we can get started again.
Okay, so
there's a lot of thank yous going out there. That's really nice.
It's really
nice.
nice.
Supportive group. Yeah.
It's wonderful. So I'd just like you to take, welcome back, everybody. And no, there never is enough time for these conversations. But don't forget, this is a template that you have that you can continue to work with. And I would even suggest it might be an opportunity for an interesting conversation with your families to, start going through this and to help each other with that in terms of identifying emotions and how you want to be together. So one more question for you. Based on what you've done so far today and your experience in the breakout rooms, what is one thing or an action that you can start doing right away to make this time a little bit easier for yourself? So could you please share that in the chat?
Ask for what I need. Eat less. I think we're all struggling with that.
I relate to that one too.
The bread and the brownies, right?
No.
So let's see, writing my stories, be nicer to myself, exercise more, download the mood meter. Excellent. Delegate, force myself to exercise, celebrate the wins. That's great. Take 15 minutes for myself exclusively per day. I think that's a really important, an important one for everybody. Realize what I've done in the day, read an inspirational book, enjoy the upcoming nice weather. It's supposed to be beautiful this weekend, true.
Right.
Understand that I'm not alone. Decide to stop working at a certain time and stick to it. That's that balance, right? It's hard to split the two.
Well, it's really important to establish boundaries when you're working from home, because everything can merge into everything else.
Yeah, and I think that now that we see this is probably more of a long term than a short term. You know, we're in it for the marathon, not the sprint. Hopefully we'll all be able to manage that a bit better. Write a quick note every day on what went okay and what could be improved. Great idea, Alicia. Yoga. I love yoga. A lot of good feedback here.
Fantastic. And I think you can see that you don't have to take a lot of time. Like somebody said, 15 minutes. I think we all have 15 minutes in the day to do something for ourselves. And it's really important to acknowledge that and to be sort of purposeful about it and just to appreciate the good stuff. So thank you very much. Do we have, one more little slide I did want to share with you about questions. Do we have any questions?
We do have some questions that have come in throughout. So how this goes back to the mood meter app because of those the quadrants there, and it says, how would you describe high energy?
Like excited, joyful. You can see I'm sort of popping up and down, like, you know, when something like surge of joy or happiness, excitement. I would say that those are high energy, pleasant.
Okay, perfect.
And there are a lot more. Those are just 3 examples.
Yeah, for sure. I think in the emotions, there might be some additional
Absolutely,
ones right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Low energy generally goes with unhappiness. Why is that?
Low energy generally goes with unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
You can have low energy pleasant too. So I'm not sure that that's always the case, that low energy goes with unhappiness. You can have low energy feeling very calm, feeling very relaxed, feeling serene. All of those things are low energy and they're all pleasant. So you're over on the side of low energy, unpleasant. So there you may be sad, you know, you may be worried. So again, I think the key here is really identifying what is the emotion that you're feeling and not making the assumption that just because you're low energy, that it's not a positive thing. It can be very positive. If you're feeling
and the same, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine, go ahead.
Well, one of the questions that came through right now was, well, what about high energy and unpleasant? So it goes the same way. It's right. You can have both.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're feeling really stressed, but like really high energy stress, or you're feeling really really very angry, that's high energy, unpleasant. So
somebody gave an example here. Rage can be unhappy and high energy. Yeah.
Exactly. So connect to the emotion, connect to the specific granular emotion that you're feeling, and then you're going to be dealing with the right emotion, and then you can deal with your situation more effectively. If you've bundled something into a core emotion, then it's going to be confusing for you and for other people involved as well.
Okay. Points. Okay, so on here, how do you move yourself purposefully through the quadrants? Is there a way to do that?
Through the awareness wheel. The awareness wheel or the quadrants
of the mood meter, I think.
Oh, the mood meter. Well, I mean, the mood meter will take you on the journey yourself. So the mood meter will ask you, what are you feeling now? So you identify your emotion. And if it's a pleasant emotion that you want to stay with, then you do that. You just stay with it. If it's an unpleasant emotion, you're going to be asked, why are you feeling this? So you'll also start getting a better understanding of why different emotions are coming up for you. And then the mood meter will ask you, do you want to stay with this or do you want to move? And then it starts telling you some of the things that you can do to move into a more pleasant situation. So again, like these are muscles that you're building. So after a while, you know, your reflex will be, this is how I'm feeling, though, this is what I can do for myself. It's like the body scan that we did at the beginning. It was a 5-minute body scan. We engaged in a lot of deep breathing. So one of the things that I've learned to do for myself is that if I feel myself getting tense or feel myself getting anxious, I know if I just sit and I take a few deep breaths and I just concentrate on that my anxiety will go down and my mood will elevate. So it's just paying attention to yourself and being present for yourself. So especially these days, I think, you know, we are so busy with all the things that we need to take care of that we're overwhelmed that we can forget ourselves very easily. So it's just going back inside and paying real attention to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awareness of yourself, right? It all
Absolutely.
starts with that.
Self-awareness, that's the starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no judgment.
Yeah.
Just because you're feeling a certain way that you don't like doesn't mean it's bad. It might be exactly what you need to be doing. So
Yeah.
embrace that too.
That's so true. Not judging. You're allowed to feel sad sometimes and angry. It's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, those are all valid emotions and they're there for a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like anger allows you to draw boundaries. Sadness allows you to process something that's difficult for you. Even the tears have a chemical impact. So our emotions are there to serve us and they're there for certain reasons.
Thank you. So here's a question, and I'm kind of condensing a few people's questions in one here. Can you offer thoughts on empathy? You know, colleagues who are in circumstances different than our own. I think we're all realizing now, I mean, the playing field is not equal in everyone's circumstance, and it's really coming to light right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, with work, we're all still being held accountable for deliverables, and it's difficult to reconcile both sometimes. And so can you offer thoughts on that? And also, one of the questions came in, how honest should we be with our colleagues about what we're going through, about challenging days? How transparent should we be?
Okay, so I think you made a really good point, Pam, that we're not dealing with level playing fields. And I think that's first and foremost what we should understand, and not make assumptions that other people are in the same situation as we are. I don't have any young children at home, so it's very different for you, Pam. Yesterday when we were talking, you know, one of Pam's lovely daughters came and chatted with us as well, and that's perfectly fine, and that's wonderful. So first of all, understand that people are dealing with different challenges. And when we talk about empathy, really what empathy is being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and see things from their perspective. Doesn't mean that you have to agree with it, but it means that you need to be able to understand what they're experiencing. So in order to be able to have a conversation with them about it. And again, it goes back to making assumptions that we're not all in the same boat. We're not all operating with the same advantages or disadvantages.
Mm-hmm.
So I think empathy again, I can't overestimate empathy for yourself. If you're having a tough time, or if things aren't perfect, or, you know, you're shooting yourself. Yes.
Love it.
That you bring empathy for yourself as well, because really everything I've seen right now is that we're all really doing our best. We're all trying our hardest. And, you know, I think that that's really an important message for all of us to keep for ourselves as well.
And what happens when you don't get a reaction? When you share something with a colleague or, you know, your boss, and you don't get a reaction?
I would just let it sit, you know, like we don't all react the same way as well. Some people, I'm somebody who needs to think about things. So I'm not necessarily going to react immediately. I might want to think about it and sort of figure things out before I come back and talk to you about it. So if you don't get a reaction right away, maybe you can raise it at another time and see once they've had a chance to talk about it. But don't necessarily make the assumption that they're not interested, or they don't care, or maybe they're just dealing with something themselves at the moment and they can't really deal with your situation too. So really what I think is important is just to, you know, one of the things that I really, the way I like to operate is to try and bring as much positive regard and positive intention for other people. Assume people are doing their best, assume that their intentions are positive, and operate from that base.
Right. So don't make an assumption or a judgment. And another thing that you've said to me that also resonated with me is that we judge ourselves on our intentions, but others on their actions. And that's a really important piece that you shared with me that has, you know, stayed with me. And it's very true. And specifically in this situation, if somebody's not sharing or able to respond to you in the way that you need them to, you might need just to give them some space.
Could be, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or
right.
Whatever, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so question here, and we have maybe 1 more minute. So I'll just go ahead and say the Mood Meter app, and there's some book recommendations from Jane that'll all come in the post email send out. So, and as well as a recording of the session, and I'll get to those details in a second. But the last question I have here for you is, how do we deal with the feeling, like suffocation of feelings, like an overwhelming amount of feelings? And this one specifically, if kids are not listening anymore at home, how can we, you know, it's a big question, I know, but.
It is a big question. And I think that, you know, when you talk about suffocation of feelings, again, like tease out what are the actual feelings that you're feeling with. I would honestly recommend take out the awareness wheel and go through it. You're feeling suffocated. What is triggering you in terms of being suffocated? And then look at what's actually going on. What are the facts of the situation in terms of what's going on, so that you can see them concretely. By going to the reality, by going to facts, it's also easier for you to have a conversation with your family, because you're saying these things are happening and it's unmistakable, they're happening. And then just work your way through the mood meter so that you can gain clarity, because I find what happens is that with these types of issues, when emotions are involved, things can get very noisy, you know, and so by going through the meter, you can break through some of that noise, especially when you get to what do I want. And you might end up saying, what I want is to feel like there's more time for me, or, you know, there's more respect or response or whatever it is that you want, but then at least you know what it is, and then you can plan accordingly. It is a big question though. So in a nutshell, that's what I would suggest.
Sorry. Okay, well, thank you everyone, and thank you, Jane. This was a really wonderful session. There was a lot of positive feedback. I think everyone really enjoyed it. And thank you for giving us some strategies really to help cope with this difficult time, because we're all facing it, and we all really are in it together. And so we need to hone these skills and practice this new muscle. So like I said earlier, you will be receiving a post email with a lot of free resources, and as well as the documents we shared with you today, and a recording of the session, so you can go through it again at your leisure. So thank you again for coming to our Level Up webinar, sorry. Oh, and in the post email, actually, you'll also be receiving an evaluation form, which just helps us to refine our process and our sessions for future. So any input there would be really appreciated. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me an email, connect with us on LinkedIn, and definitely join our next sessions. We have another session next Wednesday with Natalie Francisi on how to navigate a disruptive workplace. So more strategies specifically in the workplace there. And we really hope to see you there. So with that, have a wonderful long weekend, everyone.
Pam, if I could just say one thing.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I just want to thank you again.
Go ahead.
I think that we really appreciated your sharing your situation, and I think it resonated with a lot of people. So I just wanted to thank you again.
I was a little nervous, but it's okay. We did it. Have a good evening. Thanks. Have a good day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.